Hello everyone, it's me again, Steedoj here, and we have huge news on the gameplay and controls of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, including the removal of many specific combat features like grabs, and finally, key cancels and key stuns, and a huge overhaul and enhancement to the combo system of the game in general. Xenoverse 3 naturally borrows a lot of combat elements from the former games like Xenoverse 1 and 2. After all, it should do that, it's a sequel. But like I mentioned in previous videos a while ago, it also actually does take a lot of stuff from Dragon Ball Z Kakarot as well, with the way Ki Blast and the break gauge system works. And I'm going to explain this again really quickly because I think Kakarot has the shortest, quickest explanation of how the break gauge works, and Xenoverse 3's gauge works exactly the same way. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has break gauges on all enemies, and when they're broken, your combos and super attacks would become cinematic and do even more damage, which Xenoverse 3 has taken great inspiration from, with the break critical attacks that gain cinematic bonuses, even new parts of their attacks, so long as the enemy is in the broken state. You can actually see this with Kaioken Assault and Overheat Magnetron actually gaining extra parts of the attack animation and doing way more damage than they originally did. But also, Super Godfist only gets the iconic animation that you guys know it's had since Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, when you hit enemies exclusively in the break state with it. And naturally, you actually can do multiple break critical moves in one singular break state, the same way how you could in Kakarot throw a Kamehameha cinematic, a Spirit Bomb cinematic, a Dragon Fist cinematic. You can throw out as many of these cinematic versions of these moves as possible if you had them, but since the break critical moves are a specific type of attack, it kind of depends on how many you actually have selected on your character if you're going to be throwing an army of break critical moves at your enemies when they're down. But you can actually exploit this damage further by using mechanics like Soul Switch, and I know everyone's not going to be a big fan of Soul Switch, but you can actually see in some of the gameplay showcases that if you Soul Switch with Trunks, you can get both of his break critical attacks, and then when your transformation runs out, you can get 2 more in your base form. I'd assume that this would be where the actual big damage is done, but we'll have to wait and see for more gameplay because again, we don't have any break critical ultimates shown to us so far. Honestly, them not choosing to show any break critical ultimates make me think that break critical ultimates are going to be absolutely ridiculous when we actually do eventually see them, because I want to remind you guys, ultimate attacks already have special animations in general because duh, they're ultimate attacks, right? But when we see the break critical version of them, how much is the animation going to change? Again, one of the best examples I put down is that Dragon Fist's animation, despite already looking really good in DBZ Kakarot, becomes absolutely insane when the enemy's in the break state. So I'm assuming that when we see these break critical ultimates, they'll be kind of like Dragon Fist and Super Spirit Bomb, where the animation is just ridiculously over the top to compensate the fact that you're using your ultimate skill at the literal perfect time when the enemy is fully broken. Another one of the big things that everyone playing Xenoverse 3 has mentioned right now is basically how there's no grabs in the game. One person specifically has stated that there might be grabs in the game, they just don't know the button combination for grabs, which could be why we haven't seen anyone do a grab yet in any of this gameplay. But I'm actually going to jump the gun here and say that there's probably no grabs in Xenoverse 3. I know that sounds insane, I know that sounds disappointing, but listen to what I'm going to say clearly, because it might be Bandai Namco's vision to maintain a Xenoverse as a series. Since Xenoverse 3 has already been stated to go down the path of anti-spam options, since the devs are appalled by what Xenoverse 2 basically became, and unless you somehow put a cooldown on grabs, which just sounds insane and mind-boggling, it's literally just going to be Xenoverse 2 all over again, with people just grabbing the whole fight and just relying on chunky netcodes to make these high-priority moves go through basically all the time and ignore any of the gameplay actually taking place currently. Since they obviously want the game to be way less spam heavy and they have the key break mechanic, it'd be weird to have grabs that just can be used non-stop and completely ignore this key mechanic entirely and just be doing massive damage or great damage the whole fight. Like, they would feel like it's probably a waste of time to set up all of these systems that just get bypassed, like the key mechanic system being entirely ignored, unless if they want another Xenoverse to just be grab until you win the game system. But I'm sure they're more than aware to avoid that, especially since there is confirmation that Bandai Namco Dimps actually do watch YouTuber gameplay videos and know how broken grab spam in Xenoverse 2 most likely is, hence why they said, nah, forget it, just get rid of them. Now, to make up for this, I can definitely see them doing exactly what they did with evasive skills in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, where evasives would just take up a super attack slot, and I honestly think some grabs will end up being super attacks as well. A good example is we already have some very confirmed super attack grabs like Gigantic Rage and Demonic Destruction. Those are already grab super attack skills in Xenoverse 2, and I imagine that they're probably just going to add stuff like Dragon Throw into the mix, because Dragon Throw, I mean, back in the Budokai games, Dragon Throw, you could only do it if you actually had it equipped on your character. In fact, grabs in general could only be used back in the Budokai games games. I'm pretty sure if you equipped them, at least in Budokai 1 and 2, I remember you had to equip your grabs. In Budokai 3, I think they changed that to make grabs universal. But what I mean to say is that obviously Xenoverse 3 is, again, it's not trying to be like Xenoverse 2 at all. And I don't want to pin the blame on anyone, but you do have to remember that a bunch of people got really careless when it came to playing Xenoverse 2 online. And when I've been saying for years and years and years, it would make the game worse, it would make the community worse, it would make everything worse, people just ignored it. But you could see how the devs clearly respond to how unbalanced Xenoverse 2 was by just going, yeah, I guess we'll just kind of shoot all of those features in the foot. Even then, they revamp a lot of stuff. Like, I want to remind you guys, Heat Dome Attack, the way it's always been in Xenoverse 2, is that you just stand next to someone and you do the animation and it throws them into the air naturally, and then you blast them. But in Xenoverse 3, they actually changed it to make it way more lore accurate, where it's a grab and you throw them into the air yourself, not like a random key blast does it for you, and then you blast them. So again, grabs are technically still in Xenoverse 3, they're just super attacks and ultimate attacks, not a universal button, which is for the sake of the game's balance. Again, if grabs make a return, they'll most likely be like evasive skills where they only bring a few of them over as super attacks, and even then they'll probably rebalance them entirely to have new animations to do different damage. I do want to point out, even though Xenoverse 3 obviously has a lot of animations from Xenoverse 1 and 2 because it's, again, a sequel game, that they do actually touch up a lot of these animations. A good example is that the female Earthling's gameplay, she has Goku's back head. It isn't over yet, but the way she does do the kicks are very different. I say very different, there's only one specific way to do those kicks, but you can tell that the animation has been refined and tuned up, and that's considering the fact that they made a new version of this animation for Ultra Instinct Quelled Goku in the newest Xenoverse 2 DLC, which I don't even think is a week old, so they still touch up animations that they are adding to the game currently or redoing for Xenoverse 3, which is a good sign for how grabs are going to look. I do think grabs are going to be way better when they do get added to Xenoverse 3, even if they take up a whole super attack slot, but most likely they will take up the guard break super attack slot. You guys know the purple one, right? If an enemy's blocking, press this skill and it'll go through and do massive damage to their key break gauge. I think that's what they're going to do with grabs, and it's definitely the safest option. Otherwise, it's just going to be a Dragon Ball game with no grabs, which I don't mind, obviously, but again, it'd be kind of weird. Moving on, we have the light and heavy attacks, because a lot of people think that light and heavy attack combinations are not in the game anymore. I don't know how, when if you just watch any of the gameplay showcases, even the first one we ever got, you can just see that heavy attack and light attack light up in the middle of a combo, meaning that there are alternating combos. I think people are mostly just kind of not seeing it because they're kind of just ignoring it overall, or they're not acknowledging it because it doesn't have a big fancy animation to it like in Xenoverse 2. When you get to the end of your heavy light heavy combos and all these other unique combos, you can actually tell what's going on a bit more because it's a big cinematic. But again, this game isn't finished. It's obviously, again, we're looking at early footage. Everything you see here is just not going to be done. So whenever it comes to big melee animations, I do want to point out that we don't have that many big melee animations because, again, they need to finish making all of these characters' combos. We still haven't seen what, like, the Frieza Race combos look like, how the transformation combos look like. We still haven't seen most characters' movesets in the game. The only movesets we've seen, Trunks, Vegeta, Goku, Majin Buu a little bit, Frieza a tiny bit too, and that's it. And then even with all the new character combos that they've redone, a good example is because the female Earthling uses Goku's moveset and the male Sen uses Vegeta's moveset. Even of those two characters, they have entirely new animations for their combos, like almost fully unique animations for their whole combos, because again, they are changing everything. So again, when it comes to how there's not enough melee, super attack cinematics for you guys to understand that, yes, there are still alternating combos in the game. You just kind of have to wait and see more. A good example is that we have gameplay footage of the female Majin using one of Majin Buu's new combos because she does have Majin Buu's battle style. And Majin Buu legit could just not do that in Xenoverse 1 or 2. He did not have the ability to just shoot out like a quick, big gust of wind, Innocence breath attack in the middle of his combos. He just couldn't do that before. So yeah, they're obviously changing the way combos are massively in Xenoverse 3, and you're going to have to wait to see more on this. But overall, yes. When we see more of Xenoverse 3 combos, we'll see more of the big fancy animations, we'll see more big, beautiful attacks, we'll see more alternating combos, but they are still in the game. You can literally just watch any gameplay showcase, and even if the person doesn't know what they're doing, they accidentally end up doing light into heavies or heavies into lights. So I don't know why people think those combos are just gone. I think there's a lot of negative stigma around Xenoverse 3 in general, which is really weird because a lot of the things that people are upset about that they think aren't in the game are features that they probably don't use, or if it's features they do use. For example, people are wondering if key cancels are in the game or not. When key cancels are only dictated by how much iframes they feel like putting on the animation and how much lag the game actually has. If key cancels didn't have any iframes, then no one would find any issues in them, but they are just chock full of iframes, and it doesn't help that when the game is lagging, they get even more iframes. So many features that people think are gone or think have been removed are based entirely on the fact that maybe they're in the game, and you just have to wait for the game to be finished to see if that's how they actually implement it. Like, a good example is, I saw a lot of people saying, Steed, look, there's key cancels in Xenoverse 3, because in this clip, you see a guy shoots a key blast and then dash afterwards. But like, son, that's every Dragon Ball game? In every Dragon Ball game, you could shoot a key blast and then dash afterwards? Xenoverse 2 is the only game that managed to make it broken. I want to remind you that Xenoverse 2 is also the only game that has Hercule be overpowered and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta be trash. So it's not an intentional mechanic that key cancel is as OP as it is. It's just a genuine mistake. And even in the clip that people are pointing out, saying that key cancels are in Xenoverse 3, not only in the clip does the key blasts not stun the person, meaning they don't stun people anymore like they do in Xenoverse 2, but when he dashes after the quote-unquote key cancel, he gets hit right away, meaning that it's not chock full of iframes. So I'm saying key cancels are basically gone, because the only reason why we call them cancels to begin with is because they made you get out of everything for free, because it was canceling whatever animation you did and avoiding damage. Otherwise it would just be called a key blast, because you wouldn't be avoiding anything. But no, now you can't just dodge and get out of jail for free and just avoid all responsibilities and all damage because you pressed one button. Now you actually do get hit when you press key blast cancel, and it doesn't stun people anymore. So even if you did press it, and if it had iframes, the person's attack is still going to go through because they're not being stunned, which, yes, thank you, glorious. We solved one of the biggest issues in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Now let's just hope that lag doesn't, exacerbate these issues and make them worse. Like, again, the limited transformations have people, like, really stuck up, and I get that, obviously. I'm gonna miss being a Super Saiyan Blue Evolved for the entire parallel quest, obviously, because, doing that was fun. It made me feel overpowered and stuff like that. But at the same time, again, Bandai Namco goes online, they watch YouTube videos, they see player feedback, and they go, oh, that's broken as hell. Maybe we shouldn't put that in the next game because it will make players go down. Again, one of the worst aspects, I think, to Xenoverse overall is how if you're a new player to Xenoverse, you're kind of just going to suffer a lot before you understand how the game works. And that's just because there's just so much BS in Xenoverse. This applies to both Xenoverse 1 and 2, by the way, because I played Xenoverse 1 late. I didn't play Xenoverse 1 when that game came out. I played that game pretty late in its life cycle, and I remember just getting treated like an absolute, like, just trout. I felt like a fish just getting just filleted and just cleaved open left, right, and center. It was crazy how unbalanced and unfamiliar that game was to me. And then when Xenoverse 2 came out, obviously that was a new playing field, so everyone kind of learned the game at the same pace. I learned the game a bit faster than most, not to brag or anything, but I kind of dominated in Xenoverse 2 when that game. Hell, I'm still dominating in Xenoverse 2. Alright, let me not toot my horn too much, but yeah. But if you see new players playing Xenoverse 2, you can actually see in real time they don't understand why some people are just chock full of iframes. They try to attack someone and the person's completely invincible and they get stunned at the same time. They try to hit someone, and even if they hit them first, the person's grab just goes through, and then the grab leads to an infinite combo, and then the infinite combo kills them. They get hit by Key Blast Cannon, Unvanishable Stamina Breaks, Limit Burst, all this stuff. Like, it's gonna make people who play the game or watch gameplay of the game go, oh, I don't want to play this looks really unfun. Like, I do all Xenoverse content in general, mostly PvP content, because I actually think the PvP for the game can be extremely engaging. Of course, it was better before, when I started my YouTube channel, before it got super duper laggy, with all the extra stuff that they loaded onto Xenoverse 2 later. But I get so many comments since years back of people saying, Steed, thank you for uploading Xenoverse 2 videos that I can watch, because I would never play this online. And it makes me just go, damn, like, that sucks to hear, because I would actually want more people to engage with the game, so we could get more online experiences. And the more enjoyable online experiences we get, the more people who would want to keep playing the game. And if the Xenoverse series keeps doing well, I mean, not only does that benefit me because I'm a YouTuber, obviously, but I actually do like Xenoverse. I actually liked Xenoverse 1, even though, again, when I jumped into the game, it was super unbalanced and I never understood any of the cheese or other silly mechanics I was fighting against. And even in Xenoverse 2, when key cancel started coming up, I was still like, well, I just like the overall core gameplay, even if there's a lot of cheese, but whatever, what can you do about that, right? I would actually like Xenoverse to succeed, and I'm very sure Bandai Namco Dimps want the same, because why else are they taking such an aggressive approach to removing everything that they think would make the game less fun for the average person to play? Like, again, timed transformations. I know that's most people's biggest complaint. A lot of people don't even care that they don't have 2 ultimate attacks, so I guess we're doing something right by a community standpoint. But timed transformations, I do get the complaints, but you have to remember that some people don't just want to fight a giant Namekian. And again, giant Namekian probably doesn't even last a minute in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Like, if you do an actual PvP match with a giant Namekian, it doesn't really last a minute, but in that minute, they can kill you 100%. So you could see why they're adding timers to transformations, because most of the OP transformations, or the Giga Strong ones, a good example is Super Saiyan Blue to Evolved, Pure Form, Margin, etc. Even Powerpole Pro, if it's lagging enough, that transformation can actually be completely unbeatable because you can't hit the person in it at all. They're obviously going to remove stuff like that from the game, because imagine fighting an infinite transformation that you couldn't even beat in a minute, and it doesn't even have a timer to it. At least now in Xenoverse 3, the transformations are way stronger than I think they are in Xenoverse 2 already. Look at how much more damage characters do when they go Super Saiyan, when they Soul Change, even the fact that they get a massive health restoration when they transform, which is going to be big for PvP and Power Luck Quest. It's making me curious how hard the mission's going to be if they're adding mechanics like health gain on transformation. That is very interesting, but you could see why they're obviously doing all these changes, because they want the game to be more playable for more players. And again, there's no complaints of that. Again, as someone who loves Xenoverse, I would like for the game to actually do well and not just be fighting the same tryhards. Like if you watch my videos in like the last 5 years, you could probably still find the same few names popping up in these videos. Not because the game doesn't get new players, but because the only people who keep playing are the people who can win at the game exclusively because it's cheesy and broken just the way they like it. Like, I remember Rhymestar used to make, like, hella, like, Xenoverse 2 videos. I'm going off topic, so if you guys want to just, like click off the video, that's fine. But this is just, like, my own personal experience. I remember Rhymestar and T-Rex used to make, like, hella Xenoverse 2 videos, and I remember watching them all. I remember liking them all, Burkle as well. But, like, the longer the game came out, like, the longer the game was out, the just more laggy it got, because the Xenoverse 2 wasn't, I guess it wasn't meant to have that much stuff added to the game, which is why the game starts chugging so much, and why online connectivity is so bad. Like, if you go watch some of my older videos, in fact, I think I'll put it on the screen right now. Xenoverse 2's connection used to be so good that the moment you hit someone, the match would end. Now when you beat someone, there's like a nearly 5-second delay before the match ends. That's how bad the connection is now. And it's really sad, because again, I remember I used to watch Rhymestar, T-Rex, Burkle, so many YouTubers used to make like almost daily Xenoverse 2 PvP videos, just showing interesting things, doing interesting videos in general. Like again, T-Rex's like Goku, Lifeline, Vegeta, Lifeline, Legendary Box of Battles. We had all of these good videos, Burkle with the trolling videos. So many good Xeno gems just kind of gone to us now, because the game is in just such a rocky state that even the YouTubers who, again, literally financially profit from making videos on Xenoverse are like, hell no, I don't want to play this. This sucks. And I think that's a really bad feeling when the people who literally get paid to play the game go, damn, I don't want to play this anymore. That's a really bad feeling. If people who literally get paid to make videos in the game aren't playing it, why do you think a normal person who doesn't get paid and is just trying to have fun is going to want to play this? But yeah, I guess that's the end of my yap session, and honestly, I think that's a pretty good place to end the video, lads. Again, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please obviously leave a comment down below about what you'd like to see next, because again, Xenoverse 3 is a very contentious topic. The reason I'm not flaming anyone over their takes for Xenoverse 3, even if it's ones that I disagree with, is because we do need to wait until we see more for the game to come out. I understand everyone is in a pretty rough position, because Sparking Zero came out and was, no matter how you guys want to perceive it, it was a pretty big disappointment. If Sparking Zero, which is basically Tenkaichi 4, was a massive disappointment, it makes sense that the anime fandom in general, when it comes to anime games, is in such a depressed mood when it comes to these games and have such low expectations and are being hypercritical now. Because before Sparking Zero, they gave it all the good faith in the world, and it came out and it wasn't that great. So I don't blame people for being a little upset. I do want to wait until we see more for Xenoverse 3, but I do think that some of the arguments around the game are just really unfavorable and also very impatient. It is just a case of wait and find out, and I'm also willing to wait and find out, because I'm not calling anyone stupid over their takes. I'm not insulting people. I'm not like, oh, you're an idiot if you don't agree with me. But you know, it's the way it is. We do just have to wait until we see more. But I am optimistic for this game, as someone who does not like the direction Xenoverse 2 took with all of its balancing decisions and how unfun that game became to play after a certain amount of time. Seeing Xenoverse 3 make the right steps to making a game actually enjoyable to play, heck yeah, dude, I'm a huge fan of that. So, without further ado, I think that's a pretty solid place to end the video, lads. And again, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe, as it greatly supports the channel. And leave a comment down below as to what you'd like to see next, fellas. And I do love you all. I hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you all next time. Take care and peace. Bye-bye.